year is 2007. The previous year saw the release of the very game that nearly killed off the Sonic the Hedgehog series. Sonic was at an all-time low, not just in the eyes of critics, but the fans as well. How do you recover from a game as damning as Sonic 06? Simple! You just keep doing what you do best! And that's exactly what DIMPS did. After the success of Sonic Rush on the Nintendo DS, a sequel was put into work immediately. And not only would it be bigger and better, more refined, more polished, but above all, it would have a budget unlike any handheld Sonic game before it. Sonic Rush Adventure, like Rush before it, was a game that I discovered on one of my annual weekends visiting my grandparents. Same as before, I went to Toys R Us to find new Sonic merch for my ever-growing addiction. Unlike its older brother, I was all too aware of the existence of the sequel. It was a game I'd had on my radar for some time leading up to its release. I knew I had to get it, and I did just that. Just like before, I binged the entire game that weekend and declared it the greatest 2D Sonic game I'd ever played. Whether or not that is still the case remains to be seen. With that being said, the nostalgia goggles are on, and they're rose-tinted. It's time to take a look at one of my most cherished games in the franchise, as we take a look at Sonic Rush Adventure.
La la, la la, la la, a new adventure. La la, la la, la la, a new adventure. La la, a new adventure. La la, a new adventure. La la.
The game opens up with Sonic and Tails flying through a heavy storm on the tornado. The two are tracking a strange reading that Tails picked up. Just as they're getting closer to discovering the source, they're struck by lightning. The two are sent hurling into a dangerous twister. They soon find themselves shipwrecked and washed ashore a random beach, where they're greeted by a brand new face. Meet Maureen the Raccoon, a young girl with a keen sense of adventure, a complete lack of common sense, and a heavy Australian accent, twang and all. I like her. She acts like the main character of her own story, with Sonic and Tails as her crew, when in actuality, they're playing babysitter with an energetic child. I strangely used to hate Maureen's character and her role in the story, but I've grown to really admire her these days. The dynamic she has with the main cast is genuinely sweet, and you can get a sense that while Sonic can be easily annoyed by her, he cares for her safety and has a great way of keeping her level-headed when needed. Maureen offers to let our shipwrecked heroes stay at her place while they try to figure out just where they are and how they plan on getting home. The next day, Sonic and Tails discover Maureen is working on a vehicle to allow her to traverse the vast ocean so she can venture out and see the world. It's a key part of her arc as a character. Maureen wants to go on her own adventures and prove herself as more than just a young Sheila. After crashing her ship and totaling it, Tails offers to build a new one for her. The catch is, he'll need some materials in order to do so. Leave it to Sonic to offer to find them for Tails. After a quick, skippable tutorial, you'll find a few scraps to work with. Utilizing the materials you've found, Tails builds a water bike that will allow the group to venture off to a nearby island. It might seem odd for me to focus on a different style of gameplay first, but we'll get into the core gameplay in just a bit. After setting a course for the nearby island on your map, you'll take off and begin controlling your new vehicle, the Wave Cyclone. Utilizing the touchscreen, you'll navigate Sonic across the blue ocean at considerable speed. Holding down the screen will accelerate the ship. You'll slide left and right to dodge oncoming obstacles, occasionally hitting ramps in which you'll draw a pattern to gain some boost. When your ring meter is filled, simply double tap the screen or press L to gain a boost. This will allow you to gain speed and break through various obstacles with ease. I enjoy the Wave Cyclone. It's a fun addition to the game with a focus on speed and tricks, just like the core gameplay, and doesn't overstay its welcome. And I mean that literally. You can only go so far with this thing. You'll need some more vehicles to explore the vast ocean, but more on that later. When you land on the new island, the team is taken back by the size of the mushrooms that make up the greenery. Sonic eagerly scours ahead to ensure it's safe for his friends, beginning our first main level, Plant Kingdom. And this is a great excuse for me to talk about the changes to the core gameplay. The core gameplay of Rush has been retained and refined even further. Sonic still has all of his abilities from before, including the ability to perform super loud tricks to fill up his boost meter, and take off at high speeds. I have very little to say in comparison to before, as everything is the same this time around, just more refined and polished to perfection. So with that said, let's get right into the levels themselves. The levels of Rush Adventure are varied much more than previous entries. You have a lush jungle made up of giant mushrooms, an island made up entirely of machines, a cavern system filled with massive coral reefs, a haunted pirate shipyard, an icy peak, a city in the sky, and an underground pirate city. The level themes are unique, yes, but what makes them stand out are the various gimmicks each presents. Rush Adventure just keeps going with these to make each zone feel different from the last. Plant Kingdom has bouncy mushrooms in their 3D rail grinding section. Blizzard Peaks has a snowboarding section with half pipes that play with perspective. And Pirate Island sees you riding dolphins through rings and grinding on water streams fired from cannons. And the variety doesn't stop there. Even the boss fights have been improved tenfold. It's no secret that I didn't enjoy the boss fights in Rush, but Adventure steps things up, utilizing both screens to play around with unique ideas and create a sense of intimidation in their scope. Your first boss is a T-Rex that starts out on the top screen before breaking the floor beneath you and sending you down to the depths below, where you'll be on the bottom screen. It raises its neck to the top screen to slam down on you. There's also an octopus that shifts the ground above and below the water and can blind your screen with ink. A whale that you have to go inside and navigate a maze to find a weak point inside its stomach. A pirate robot! Rush Adventure took the ideas that didn't work for Rush and made them all the better, while taking what did work and refined them to perfection. As you adventure further, you'll come across our two lead antagonists, Captain Whiskers and Johnny. The two are a part of a pirate crew that are causing havoc on the many islands in search of a mystical item known as the Jeweled Scepter. When Sonic and crew finally catch up to the captain and try to stop him, they're met with a little surprise. Blaze is here? How can that be? Well, no time for that. After a boss fight, Captain Whiskers flees the scene with the scepter in hand. Before they can give chase, some revelations are brought to light. Blaze isn't the one visiting this time around. Sonic and Tails have found themselves in Blaze's dimension. This was all I could have ever wanted from the first Rush. Focusing on Sonic's dimension only was a safe choice, but one that ultimately held back the storytelling. Having it take place in Blaze's dimension also explains a few things, namely the comparisons that can be made to some of the level themes. Marine's home is on a little island called Southern Island, similar to Sonic's own South Island. You have a forest of giant mushrooms, similar to Knuckles' Mushroom Hill, and a lost civilization in the sky similar to Angel Island. Couple that with the 7 Chaos and Soul Emeralds and Blaze being heavily implied to be Sonic's dimensional counterpart, and it all starts to make sense. But enough about that. Now that Blaze is with us, we can add her to our roster. Like Advance 3, Rush Adventure is a shared journey. You can freely select between our two heroes at the start of every level, and yeah, I picked Blaze for the rest of the adventure. Is it really that surprising? She may not be as fast as Sonic, but her hover, high jump, and increase in attack radius just makes her the superior choice. They even made her immune to fire, allowing her to take shortcuts that Sonic can't. She's just the better choice all around. Plus, this is her home. It only seems right. From here on, the story amounts to going from island to island, finding new friends, and trying to unravel the mystery of the pirates and where they've taken the Jeweled Scepter. You'll visit smaller islands along the way that progress the story, and in some cases are outright required in order to unlock main islands. Like this quest, where in order to unlock the final island, you'll have to go to 3 hidden islands to find these ruins that will be integral to solving a puzzle to open the entryway. The problem is, I found all 3 of them before entering the island, but still had to backtrack and replay the islands because apparently, it's not common for a genius like Tails to write the ruins down for future use. One of my few complaints with the game. In order to get around to these various islands, you'll need some vehicles, as the wave cyclone can only get you so far, and these are vast oceans with much to explore. Throughout the game, you'll unlock 3 additional water vehicles, the Ocean Torpedo, Aqua Blast, and Deep Typhoon. Each vehicle comes with an increase in travel distance and a different gameplay style. The Ocean Torpedo is by far the least interesting. It's a slow ship that sails on its own, with the player using various weapons to mow down enemies that come on screen. I use this one the least of the 4, especially after unlocking the Aqua Blast. By far my favorite of the bunch. A hovercraft that's like the Wave Cyclone, but faster, has the ability to fire laser at enemies, and can also spin to deflect incoming projectiles. Music is also a favorite of mine. Lastly, we have the Deep Typhoon, a submarine that moves on its own, but presents the player with a sort of rhythm game. You must strike each enemy to the rhythm of the music. A novel idea, but can get repetitive after a few instances. I only ever used it when necessary, often relying on the Aqua Blast the most. However, the Deep Typhoon is required to get to certain islands, as they can be surrounded by rock formations and no other vehicle can access them. How you unlock the vehicles is by utilizing various materials by completing levels. The higher your rank, the more materials you'll unlock. Where this becomes a problem is just how many you'll need to build some, even worse if you decide you want to upgrade them. Each vehicle can be upgraded 3 additional times. These upgrades can include better defense, higher speeds, and better firepower. They're not necessary, but they will make the late game a lot easier. You will need a ton of materials and rings to upgrade and unlock these vehicles, which means you'll have to grind materials. You could argue that this is padding, and sure, it definitely is, but I don't necessarily mind it. The levels are a ton of fun already, so the idea of replaying them and doing better to get a better rank isn't really a bad thing to me. I already have this mindset for Sonic levels, it's kinda their purpose. No, my issue lies in the upgrades. The amount of materials needed is nuts. You would have to do a lot of grinding for these. Again, they aren't needed, but they definitely help a lot, so of course I want them. But if you don't have the time to do so, there is an alternative method. Marvelous. That's where my negativities end though. Let's talk positives with the absolutely incredible music. Sonic Rush Adventure brings 3 composers from the mainline series into DIMPS games for the first time. Tomoya Otani of Sonic Adventure 2 fame, who would later go on to compose for my favorite Sonic game, Sonic Unleashed. Mariko Nanba, who worked on Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog. And Sairo Okamoto of Sonic 06 and Secret Rings. These 3 are genius composers. All of their past and future work on this franchise is incredible, but wow! Their combined efforts for Rush Adventure led to one of my favorite Sonic OSTs of all time. Plant Kingdom is so bouncy and energetic with a super cool breakdown toward the end. Coral Cave has this mysterious atmosphere to it where the instruments almost sound like they're coming from a cave. Haunted Ship was a close contender for my favorite track in the game, with its strong melody backed by haunting undertones. But my favorite of them all goes to Sky Babylon. I have no words to describe this one, so I'll let it do the talking for itself. Hats off to you 3. But let's get back to that ending, shall we? After discovering the 3 ruins needed to unlock the final island, the team has a meeting about their plan to take down Whiskers. In an unfortunate turn, Sonic, Blaze, and Tails have all decided that it would be best for Marine to stay behind while they take the fight to the pirates, deeming it too dangerous for her. This does not go well as you would expect. Marine throws a huge fit before storming off. The 3 venture out without her and open the door to the pirates' island. After storming the area, they catch up with Captain Whiskers, accompanied by Johnny. In one final duel against the 2 of them at once, Johnny flees, leaving Whiskers by himself. Whiskers runs on ahead and unleashes a towering machine. Before he can get the last laugh, Marine shows up and gives him a good beating. The machine captures her, but not for long before Sonic and Blaze save her. The Scolding can wait, as they have a boss to take down. Big Swell is the name of the machine, and in order to take it down, you'll have to find a way up to it. Luckily, there are 2 cannons on both sides of the platforms you're standing on. You'll have to bait Big Swell into attacking the barriers protecting the cannons, then attack the gun of the cannon before climbing inside. You have to line up the 2 reticles and let loose as you're sent flying to the cockpit. It becomes a juggling act to land hits on it without falling down below. After enough hits, Big Swell unleashes its final desperation attack as the walls close in on you. You'll land the final blow, putting Big Swell out of its misery. With Whiskers defeated and fleeing, claiming the heroes will suffer his wrath, and the jeweled scepter saved by Marine, the day is saved, but not without an earful from the heroes. The credits roll and we're met with a final shot of the jeweled scepter, safely returned. But wait, that shadow looks awfully familiar. But we can't do anything about that for now. First, we've got some emeralds to collect. Woo! Just like before, you'll have to collect the 7 Chaos and Soul Emeralds in order to see the true ending. However, unlike the first rush, you actually have to collect all 14 emeralds. First, let's get the Chaos Emeralds. Remember Johnny? He wasn't just some random guy who showed up for the final boss fight. No. You actually met Johnny on your way to the second main island. He stops Sonic and challenges him to a race on the Wave Cyclone. After easily beating him, you're rewarded with one of the Chaos Emeralds. Yes, you can actually collect them all before reaching Big Swell, but you'd be nuts to do so, as Johnny is no pushover in some of these races. It's best to upgrade your Wave Cyclone to the max before attempting them all. You'll have to find Johnny too. He can be found all over the ocean, usually close to various islands. Once you find him, he'll challenge you to a race. These races aren't too difficult, especially if you know a great trick that will guarantee success every time. You'll want to take it slow at first, by filling your ring meter to the max. Once it's full, you'll have unlimited boost for a while. Just boost away and keep collecting rings and you'll never run out of boost. Guaranteed victory every single time. Now what about the Soul Emeralds? Well, in order to collect them, you'll have to talk to one of Blaze's aides on Southern Island. He will give you missions to collect the emeralds. These missions can only be unlocked by achieving certain thresholds. You'll have to have beaten several of the bosses and have found various secret islands that are not part of the main adventure. By doing so, you will unlock 7 required missions that are part of the optional mission mode the game houses in Marine. The missions are where the issues lie, as they are just you fighting the same bosses and playing through the same hidden islands again, which for me, I already did as Blaze, so this got even more redundant. The bosses are a little more challenging, but the islands are the exact same. It's not a bad system, but it is kind of dull. How I would have handled it is an inverse of how Rush handled it. Have Sonic unlock the Chaos Emeralds by completing each island of the story, and leave the races with Johnny to Blaze. It would cut down on the padding time and be a perfect mirror of how Rush handled it. Anyways, after collecting all 14 emeralds, you'll automatically be thrown into the endgame. Sonic and Co are still trying to work out how to return back to their dimension. As they are doing so, one of Blaze's guards rushes in and informs the princess that the jeweled scepter was stolen overnight. Suddenly, an earthquake goes off. These have been gradually happening throughout the story, but this is by far the most powerful one yet. The team rush outside where a giant mech emerges from the water, holding the jeweled scepter in hand. Who else would steal it but Dr. Eggman? But not just Dr. Eggman, but even Eggman Nega has joined in on the antics. The two doctors explained their wicked plan to the heroes. They had Whiskers steal the scepter for them so that they could use it to collect a mystical power known as the Power of the Stars. It is said to be buried deep underground, hence the earthquakes. The two have been steadily digging deeper and deeper to the core of the planet in order to harness the power of the stars. The two quickly flee below with the scepter. Thanks to Tails building a drill off screen at some point, the heroes head underground and give chase. Unfortunately, they're too late. The doctors have acquired the power of the stars and intend to use it to destroy Blaze's world and build Eggman Land. They're too powerful, as they send Marine and Tails flying. Sonic and Blaze are left with no choice. They must use the power of the emeralds to stop the doctors. The fight relies on the player switching between Sonic and Blaze when they're best suited for the fight. Sonic can deflect attacks with a reflecting shield, and Blaze can shoot fireballs. Gotta be honest, I stuck with Blaze throughout the fight. Sonic's ability never came in handy, even in the situations where I was encouraged to use it. The fight spans both screens, the boss on the top and our heroes on the bottom. The doctors have various attacks up their sleeves to dodge. They'll shoot homing beams that Sonic can deflect, fire dragons that you'll have to shoot down quickly, or they'll stun you. And later, an attack that creates a stream of lava that gets in your way. The fight is broken up into 3 phases, where they'll regenerate a chunk of health each time. After the final phase, the fight ends with a stylish finish from Sonic. With the Eggman defeated and the Jeweled Scepter returned and under tight security this time, it's time for Sonic and Tails to finally return home. Using both the Chaos and Soul Emeralds, Tails has been able to create a machine that acts as a gateway between the two dimensions, safely returning the heroes home without causing a paradox shift. Sonic and Blaze share some final words with each other, discussing how it's possible that the Chaos Emeralds guided Sonic and Tails to Blaze's world because they knew, somehow, that their world was in danger. And I just love the implications here. It wouldn't be until Sonic Frontiers came out that we get lore on the Chaos Emeralds, and the implications of them being aware of danger and guiding our heroes is such a neat idea. With that said, Sonic bids Blaze farewell in a manner similar to their last before hopping onto the ship. Sonic and Tails realize that Marine never said bye to them, but before it's too late, she pulls up on her new and improved ship that she built all by herself. She tries to put on a brave face for our heroes, thanking them for everything and promising she'll be a brave adventurer the next time they meet. Before seeing them off, Marine returns to the shore where Blaze comforts her, and thus, this concludes Sonic Rush Adventure. Man, I love this game! Sonic Rush Adventure is just plain fun. It's a game that set out to improve on a formula that was already nearly perfect. It tightened up and refined the controls to be much more responsive than before, expanded the level design with more flow and gimmicks that built on top of the core gameplay, took the adventure in its title and ran with it, spanning a giant ocean to explore with many islands to see, a story that felt like a proper sequel to its older brother, and unified the two playthroughs into one, just like Advance 3 did for the trilogy. Sure, the sea vehicles aren't all winners, and the Emerald system isn't exactly how I wish they would have handled it, but these are hardly reasons to hold back an otherwise phenomenal game. Rush Adventure is to the DS what Advance 3 was to the GBA. It was an understanding of what did and didn't work before, and improved on it in nearly every single way. Sonic Rush Adventure was, for a long time, my favorite game that DIMPS made for Sonic. Though in recent years that title got usurped by a game that I originally planned on talking about in this series of reviews. You see, Patreon used to have a stretch goal option. I planned to use that system for several videos, one of which was a video on Sonic Colors for the Nintendo DS. It was an incentive to get Patreon pledges, and I would make one extra video if it was met. However, Patreon got rid of that feature, and I have thus scrapped the idea. That being said, I would still like to come back to this title. Maybe one day I'll take a look at all the other games DIMPS made for the Blue Blur, because I only scratched the surface with these 5. But until then, I think it's a great way to end things. Thank you everyone who's been here with me through this whole ordeal. I'm sorry it's taken me this long to get back to videos, and how plans got altered. Life can be unpredictable. When things are going bad for you, it can kill all inspiration and motivation you have. I've struggled with a lot of it since my last video, but I've been picking myself up and doing everything I can to deliver content I'm proud of, and hopefully you are too. Thanks for sticking with me through it all. I promise I'm gonna make content at a more rapid pace this time. My life may be busy, but it's nowhere near as low as it was in those years before. Things are looking up, so I'll say what I always say. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.